Hello, my most amazing artist, and welcome back to Art with Miss Yazel. Let's review what we did the last time. But before we do that, let's do our motto. I forgot. Today we will be creative, kind, and work like artists. Let's get our mindset right for some wonderful art. Third grade. Last video that I did for you was about op art, and you guys were attempting to create this look of a hand on top of something that looks like it's three-dimensional. And the way that we drew that was by using different kinds of lines to lead the eye around it. And it was an optical illusion kind of, wasn't it? Optical illusions trick your eye into thinking something is three-dimensional or something is moving. So we have lots of different examples of op art that each grade level did a different op art project the last time that I've recorded. So today we're going to be learning to use pattern and create forms to make the artwork look more three-dimensional. So you are going to be thinking about space today, the element of art called space and the element of form. Also the principle of design called pattern. So let's talk about space first. So there's two-dimensional space, which is the area on your paper where you try to draw and make things look sometimes three-dimensional. So 2D space can best be described as an illusion. So you're trying to trick somebody into thinking that that is actually three-dimensional space. Do you see how these railroad tracks are going back into the distance? The artist is attempting to trick your eye into thinking that it is going back into space. Also, that objects in pictures are three-dimensional by the way that we draw them. So it's all about tricking someone's eye when we're talking about flat two-dimensional artwork, because you're trying to create the illusion of space in a flat surface. So when you are using 3D space, that is when you're creating things like sculptures. You're actually making something that takes up space in an area. So this sculpture takes up room because it has length, width, and depth. That means it has 3 dimensions. That's what 3D stands for. D stands for dimension or measurement. So 3-dimensional media, which is the materials, occupies space. It includes sculpture, installation. That means where people install something into an area. They put stuff into an area. That's called an installation. And performance art, which is where people perform something and they have artwork going along with it. And then craft and product design. So things that are considered crafts and not art, and things that are being created as far as products, things that we buy. These artworks are in 3 dimensions. It can be measured with length, width, and depth. So we're going to think about trying to create a picture that has some dimension to it. So it is going to be a 2-dimensional artwork that we're going to add a 3-dimensional element to it. So I was thinking this would be a really cool lesson, and it is a hot cup of cocoa, because it's wintertime. We will often be drinking cocoa if we come in from where it's cold. I would love to have a big hot cup of cocoa when I come in out of the cold. So we're going to create this background, and then the 3-dimensional part is actually the mug. So it's actually coming off the page, and the smoke that's coming out is also 3-dimensional. So what you're going to need for this project is you're going to need a piece of paper for the background. You're also going to need another smaller piece for the mug, and by small, I mean probably a hand width or more. Let's see, hand width or more wide, and then longer than your hand this way. So as wide as your hand this way, and then longer than your hand this way, okay? Use a ruler, and about 4 by 6 would work. probably. Maybe 4 by 7 or 8 if you want the mug to be a little bigger. But anyway, markers, crayons, glue. If you need to cut the smaller piece of paper, you probably need some scissors for that. So a 9 by 12 or an 8.5 by 11 would work. 8.5 by 11 is just regular old copy paper size, like the worksheets that you get at school are 8.5 by 11. But if you have like construction paper, that would work too. You probably need a little bit heavier paper if you have it. If you don't, that's okay. Use the thin stuff. It'll still work. So markers, crayons, glue, scissors, and this stuff that's coming out, the smoke, they actually used something called quilt batting. It's the stuff you put in between the layers of fabric in a quilt, but you can also use cotton balls. So quilt batting or stuffing, like the stuff you put in pillows and to restuff the pillows with, or cotton. Cotton balls will work too, okay? I'm going to demonstrate using cotton balls. So grab your materials and okay, I hope you found some paper and some markers or crayons, something to color with, and a pencil to draw with, some scissors, because you may need to cut down a piece of paper to the correct size, and some glue and some quilt batting or cotton balls. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our paper to the correct size. So we need a background sheet, which is our 8.5 by 11, and then we need a piece for the mug, which is going to stand out from the surface of the paper. So what you're going to do is if you have a whole sheet of paper, I want you to fold it in thirds, and you're going to cut off 1/3 of this paper to become your mug. So this is going to be your mug. Both of these are going to have to be decorated. So here's what we're going to do that. If you have markers, I'm going to go ahead and show you with markers so that you can see what I'm doing. So we're creating this look of a mug sitting on a table. So we need a background for it. So our background is going to look like a table and a wall behind it. So we're going to be using lots of pattern in this project. And so the first thing I'm going to do is draw a line across my paper to create the separation between the table and the wall. Okay, if you would like to draw the table coming forward like this, you can. That's up to you. But your mug is going to sit on top of this part of the picture, okay? And this part is going to be the wall and then the smoke coming up. So I'm going to choose another color. If you wanted to use markers, you can, but I'm going to go ahead and show you using crayon because lots of people have crayons only, and that's fine. So on my wall, I could do some kind of design like it's wallpaper, or I could create a window back here so it looks like you're looking out the window, maybe a snowy scene back there. That would be cool. It's up to you. So what I'm going to do, I actually like that idea of the window. So I'm going to go ahead and do a corner of a window. You're just seeing part of the window, not the whole window, just part of it. Like getting a little peek of looking outside. Okay. Designs on the background, whatever you want. Think of a pattern that you think would look cool in the background. Okay, we know there are lots of people who have walls that either have boards on them, something called paneling, which is like fake wood, and it's in boards on your wall. And some people put wallpaper on their walls, and they have stripes on it. Make it cool. Whatever it is, make it cool. Maybe this is a kitchen wall. Some people put wallpaper in their kitchens. Stripes, polka dots, flowers. You could do a pattern of something repeating itself over and over again. Shapes that repeat. Then we have our table. We can pretend it has a tablecloth. So it may have a cool design on it. I'm gonna probably have to go with, well, kind of want to go a different direction for this. So let's just use the lines I drew to create a different pattern. This one's in between. It's kind of offset. So think, how colorful can I make this background? If I go with a dark color for my pattern and I use a light color to color over it, then I'm not going to cover up my pattern. But if I used another dark color, my pattern would kind of disappear, wouldn't it? So think contrast when you're thinking patterns, because you want the design that you created to show up. I've got a light blue here. Okay, and then my background, I'm going to add a little bit more color to my background. I'm going to turn the paper this time and color so that I can fill this in. And we do not want a solid white background. That's kind of boring. So you probably want to create some kind of a design that's different on both of these, just so that you can see a difference in those areas. Also, when you do your mug, you're going to think of all the different kinds of patterns that you could create using lines and shapes and colors. So maybe come up with some designs that are one of each: a line pattern, a shape pattern, and a color pattern. You need to be able to identify patterns, but you also need to be able to create them in your artwork. And you notice that if you're noticing that the black kind of smears when you try to color over it sometimes. So if I'd done the black in marker, I could just color over it and it wouldn't even hurt it. Okay, stuff rolling everywhere. And I said I was going to create a winter scene outside. So the top part is sky. And the bottom part is ground. Pretty simple. And maybe a small tree outside with no branches. I mean, with no leaves, only branches. Okay. All right. The main emphasis or focus is going to be on this mug. So we want it to be really cool too. I'm going to move that out of the way so you can see what I'm doing on my mug. So some of this is going to be tucked away underneath. So we're going to fold about, I'm using 2 fingers. It's about 1 inch if you had to measure it. My fingers are wider than yours. So this part right here is what's going to show. And between those 2 lines is what I need to design. So I want to make some really cool, bold patterns that really stand out, because this is the part that's going to be the most noticeable. And since I'm using a lot of yellow in my top of my picture, I'm going to go with a complementary color of purple. Let's see, here's a different purple. And it's okay if you go off the edges here, because that part's not going to show. Oh, that's blue. Oh well, I like it. Let's go with it. Blue's my favorite. Alright, blue. Then I'm going to do a stripe of orange. Light orange. Maybe a red orange on top of that. And leave a white space between there to I'm going to show you a castle top line. And if you remember, I showed you castle top when we did castles a long time ago. Oh, how long ago was that? That was way back when you were little, right? Lots of color, not a lot of white spots. Okay, so now we have our cool design. We're going to, the piece of paper you cut off of, you'll also need to cut out a handle for your mug out of that. And all I did was cut out a half circle and cut out another half circle. And that's going to be the handle for my mug, which I'm going to glue next to it after I get it in place. Okay, so here's what you do. You're going to get your glue, and these two white spaces that you did not color is where you're going to put glue. I'm going to put glue on that end, and glue here. And then I'm going to place one end where I want my mug to be. There. Oh, glue. You're sticking to everything. And then I'm going to roll this other end around and stick it to my paper. Put my hand inside and smooth it. And there is my 3D mug, which you're going to put the handle next to it. If you want to color your handle, that's fine. I'm going to leave mine white. Oh, well, I glued it the wrong side, so I'm going to put it on this side now. Okay, so there's my handle. If I could go back and draw on top of it if I... Okay, so there's my handle. Now the smoke. Ah, the fun stuff. So I'm going to take some cotton balls and I'm going to fluff them out. And really get them really airy looking, like to make it look like smoke coming out. You may have to tear and place several pieces the way you'd like them. You know, like I could have two things of smoke coming out or just one big one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put glue on the background. You can't try to put glue on this cotton. That doesn't work. It will just be a sticky hot mess. So put glue on the paper and then stick your smoke there and place it how you like it. And if you'd like to, you could put some of it coming, like glue it to the inside of your mug. So it looks like it's coming from the front side of the mug. Okay, pretty cool. I like it. Well, I hope this works out for you. I hope you have fun creating this hot cup of cocoa on these cold days. Have fun creating.